Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip,
And I'm CJ.
and Merry Christmas to you, Gene. Uh, it is Friday in the Riv, and I guess they changed the snow forecast up to 3 to 5 now.
Yeah, 3 to 5 inches
So
now.
everybody be alert. You're not going to have some shovelable snow. Okay?
And we still haven't heard about a parking ban.
Yeah. We did, yeah. Thank you. Had a good
Thank you,
Christmas. We
James.
had a show at 11, and I had my Santa Claus hat on, so you missed it. And, yes, I hope you guys all had a good Christmas, and Santa brought you all the things you wanted. But we covered a couple of things on Wednesday. I think we have to go back. We talked about that city council meeting, that disaster of a city council meeting where the two people who are going to leave and never suffer the consequences of the irate people are going to voted to give them a blank check.
Voted to deprive the citizens their right to vote and be heard on bonding issues. That's what they did.
Yeah, and then the irony is they tried to lie about it, and they made it. It was obvious. Look, Brad Kilby is getting a job in a housing authority. He's bailing. Ricky Tipp's gone. They could have waited until the new council came in, debated the issue, let the new councilor weigh in, and that way that council who did this will suffer the burdens and the ire of the people. Yeah. Mike Moran and the Temptations. Yeah. Yeah, it was unbelievable. These two guys got nothing to lose, and they were allowed to vote after they missed the previous meetings. They came specifically to stick it to the people of Fall River. They showed up after they basically said, "Oh, you didn't reelect me, and I'm not showing up, but I'm going to show up one more time just to show you that I never represented you."
Well, we got a blank promise out of Brad Kilby. He said he's not running for office ever again.
Well, let's hope so.
Yeah, let's hope so.
Because the scary part is some of these idiots, if we keep getting long turnouts, he might get elected again. He's done enough damage in his 20 throwing bouquets for 27 and a half years. But listen, the Constitution of the state that they swear an oath to clearly states that they are our substitutes and agents and answerable us to all times. And they just went, here, pick a finger. You know which one.
Yeah.
And they said, you don't have any control over us. We are going to spend your money like drunken sailors.
The worst part about it was I talked to a city councilor, and I think you talked to a city councilor about objecting to the vote.
Yep.
Okay? Now, the city councilor I spoke to said, I've been told I can't object because it came up before the council before. No, it came up before the council to be referred to the Committee on Ordinance. So nobody had objected to it. It hadn't even been heard or voted on.
Yeah, well, and I agree with you. I would have objected
that was
anyway.
Just a bullshit story.
Yeah, well,
to drag that right down the people's throat and to tell the people from the administration to the city council, right there.
Well, again, I hate to say it, but unfortunately, the councilor who was going to object should have objected anyway, as you said. Excessive parking tickets. Well, they need more money, and they're going to need a lot more parking tickets because they're going to go spend it now like crazy people. And I would have objected and then have them ruled me out of order. And then you would have said exactly what you said, CJ. I'm not out of order. That was not on the agenda to be voted on. It was on the agenda to refer.
That's right. Oh, yeah, no question about it, Stevie. I want to just say I want to thank my colleagues for all the work they put in. And Ricky, you've only been here a short time, but you could tell you were doing your job.
Yeah, look,
Yeah, because he was doing everything he was told to do.
he's bought and sold, paid for, and listen, I had a conversation with him, and he tried to tell me that, oh, we could do it anyway. And I asked him a very simple question, kind of like the question I asked before to other people. You don't get an answer. I said, if that's the case, yeah, you're right. They don't know Parliament, but sometimes, Gene, I think it's intentional. Ignorance is bliss. They say, well, I didn't know I could do that. Well, you're supposed to. When I took over the union and I became the president, I took Atwood's Rules of Order and Robert's Rules of Order, and I read them backwards and forwards. And when I walked into my first meeting, I knew the Rules of Order, and I had a copy that I kept in my briefcase for the 25 years I was the president, or nearly 25 years I was the president. I know the Rules of Order. That's an excuse. It should have made the motion. This thing, Cliff Ponte told me, oh, well, we could have done it anyway. We can do it anyway. And I said, well, if you can do it anyway, why do you have to strike the language?
Right.
Never got another response. Never got another response after asking that question, because he was lying.
Imagine that.
He forgot who he was talking to. I know the damn rules. And I know what the law says. And I know you can't do it. That's why the language is there. So my little glimmer of hope by getting Chris Peckham on that thing is gone, because Sean Kadim and Cliff Ponte showed they were sellouts at that meeting by not standing up for the people and saying, Brad, instead of throwing brocades at him, they should have said, where were you the last meeting? All of a sudden, you're showing up to vote on this. We're not going to vote on it until the new council comes in. But shame on them. I got no use for them. We're not going to pretend that we consider them anything but what they are. They're political hacks. Cliff's sitting on the fence trying to play both ends. Oh, I'm with the people. I'm with this. I'm with that. When you sit on a fence long enough, you get a picket up your ass. And that's what he's going to get, a picket up his ass. He's going to be the president. The rumor is Michelle is going to be the vice president. I don't know. But listen, as you said, they don't know the rules. They don't care about the rules. They don't do their homework. They are our fiduciaries. And they never do their homework. And on the other show, for you guys that weren't here, I'm going to go over this again. This is, ironically, the day of the meeting, I got this in the mail. This is the monthly thing we get from the Retirees Association, from the Mass State Retirees. So this is the headline on page 1. Healthcare affordability crisis in full view. Now remember, Fall River has got the lowest premium around, not because of the city. They're $2,000, $2 million in debt because they blew all their money. Because the city council, even though they were warned, even though they got numerous copies of the letter I sent to Coogan before he took office 6 years ago that this would happen, I hope Canuel and Peckham show up, and we'll see what Canuel. I know Chris is going to show up. I'm giving Canuel a bit. Now this is the second page. Okay, this is the big one. Check what this thing says. What the state is going to do after them blowing GIC $200 million in the hole. GIC. They're going to now increase all the premiums. Cost shifting means you pay more. They're now going to increase all the co-pays, the pharmaceutical prices and everything to the taxpayer and to the employees who they screwed after they screwed up the GIC. And since we're on this subject, let me remind everybody, the only reason that we have the plan that we have is talking to you right now. There's an old adage, if you don't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it. Back in 2015, 2016, Mike Coogan, sound familiar? Mike Coogan, brother of Paul Coogan, convinced all the unions, because I was retired, to accept the GIC. And they bought his bullshit. He was selling them out for a chief's job. And they found that out after the fact. We were going to go into the GIC. We would be millions of dollars in a hole today if it wasn't for me. I went down to the city hall and made a presentation and said the GIC is shit. It's a mess, and you don't want to be in it. And you know what the city council did? Nothing. Just like they do with the letter that I told them city wasn't going to have the money. We're paying the $2 million again. We paid that $2 million already, and we're going to pay it again because they blew it on other shit, not health care. But what happened that night? At 11:30 at night, Will Flanagan called me, and he said, I saw the presentation. Can you come in tomorrow and explain it to Kathy Ann and I? And I said, yeah. And I went in and I explained it. And we got plan modeling. And even though it wasn't as good as the plan we got, it's a lot better. And we ended up staying. Now we have one of the best healthcare, one of the cheapest. Diamond's got the same healthcare plan we have, and they're paying 57% higher premiums. We have the lowest premium in the state. Why? Not because of the council that never does their homework. Not because of the mayor, because they never do their homework. Not because of the CFO, because they never do their homework. They're $2 million in a hole, and we got the lowest premium in the state. Why? Because they blew the money. City council has never done their fiduciary obligation. They sit on their ass, never do their homework. CJ sent them a million letters about stuff. I've sent them letters. I read your letter that I predicted this 6 years ago, but they don't give a shit. They were also told about the $3 million that they're short in trash. And who's going to pay? You are. I am. The taxpayer. They're a disgrace. They're malfeasant. They should be sued, but none of us have got the money. Because it's going to, they'll just take us to the Supreme Court, make us, but they never do their homework. And anybody that tells you they do, and they got these delusions, they try to bullshit everybody. Oh, we don't want to be constrained. We don't want to be constrained. You got a guy, Kenny Pacheco, who got suspended in 2012 for being a fuck up. He's still over there, and he got a pay raise, and they got another 5%. He signed a contract that we've paid nearly $4 million for the mold. We still got mold. Did anybody ever sue that company? Did anybody? Yet he had the audacity, the temerity to get in front of a camera and say, I don't like having to try to break all these things into little pieces. So if this is going to make my job to blow the people's money a lot easier. This is what they did. Yeah, exactly. He jumped 145 people, never took a promotion, he passed a couple of captain's exams, but never got a high enough mark to get promoted. He wasn't smart enough to make captain, but he kissed enough ass and sold the unions down the river on their health care. Fortunately, I saved them, not for them, for my own retirees. That's why I saved them, because they deserve it, the dumb shits. They didn't do their homework either. But this is what we got, and we're going to get killed. Coogan's last 2 years, they just opened the door. They just told everybody, we are going to bend you over And if we give you Vaseline, it's going to have broken glass in it. Because we're going to go nuts on 2 years. And I'll tell you, if you think I'm pissed, I am, because they're going to be looking. They didn't let us. They didn't let us speak on Diamond. But now they'll be coming back at some point in time saying we need a debt override to pay for Diamond too. And you know what you should do? Right there. Yeah, people are going to get to the polls. As a matter of fact, we may even, there's going to be a lot of problems. I can see it now because Kadim and Ponte have proven. And to them with that bullshit, listen, I don't believe in bullshit. That's why I can never be a politician. People said, why didn't you run for mayor? Because I can't tell people that I like them when I don't like them. I can't tell people that I agree with what they do when I don't agree. I'm going to stand up for what I believe in. Bottom line is that bullshit of telling Kilby, oh, you're 27 and a half. Everybody throws bouquets at everybody. Look, I don't like somebody when they were alive. When they're dead, I still don't like them. I'm sorry. Don't make somebody better. They are what they are. And they showed what they were by letting Kilby, besides kissing his ass on the way out, they're going to approve his job at the housing authority to screw the freaking pension system and get a big, giant $50,000 or $60,000 pay raise in his pension. You think that pisses me off? It does. I'm sorry. You earn your pension. I worked 38 and a half years to earn my pension. I fought fires in the city for 38 and a half years. Yeah, he did that once already, James. Remember that? But he doesn't have to do it anymore, James. They're all in the tank now. I don't know what Cliffy's got on his horizon agenda because he sold us out. They sold us out at that meeting. They should have told Kilby, nice having you. Appreciate you sitting in a chair for 27 years or whatever in the school committee in here and never ever protecting a taxpayer. But hey, they elected you. You showed up most of the time, except now you didn't get reelected. You didn't show up except to screw the public. So we're not going to let you vote tonight. You went there. You know, this is the political bullshit game they play. All they do, just look at Rhode Island. The Brown University shooting was the biggest cluster in the history of mankind.
So much so that a federal investigation is going in.
There's a big investigation. The president of Brown. So what did the politicians do? They had a press conference and told each other what a great job they did when they caught the guy. They didn't catch the guy. A homeless guy caught him. A homeless guy living in a cellar of Brown caught him. And what did they do? They go to a PC game or something and they're getting a standing ovation. Oh, the mayor. Oh, the police chief. The police chief that did everything wrong. He's a DEI hire. This is what politicians do. They tell you how great they are. And half of the morons believe them. Therein lies the problem. They never do their homework, ever. CJ's written them 1,000 letters. Patrick Higgins is on here. He wrote them letters. I wrote them letters. I sent them a direct copy of everything, that I sent Coogan before he took office that predicted most of the shit that we got and gave the reasons why we're in a position, and they totally ignore it. They don't give a shit. And now they want to screw the fire department. They want to be able to put all their friends on a fire department. Shame on a fire union if they don't fight this. Shame on them because some of these guys went around. I was, unfortunately, during the dinosaur era. There was a Supreme Court decision that upheld the absolute veterans preference in the state of Massachusetts. And if they get this other list and they're using it while as a civil service list in effect, they're violating a Supreme Court decision to give veterans But then again, they love to screw veterans. Didn't our veterans that are state reps not give veterans preference for housing? So now they're going to ignore a Supreme Court decision. The firefighters union should be fighting that tooth and nail. They should be saying you cannot use a list that's going to ignore the absolute preference for veterans and ignore the civil service list, because the Supreme Court said they have absolute preference in this state. They're going to take another benefit away from veterans. Every veterans organization in the city should be down there bitching about this too. Not only the firefighters union, every veterans organization, every veteran in the city of Fall River should be down there telling them, call Linda, the great savior of the veterans.
The liaison.
She voted for, she was going to vote for this. Let them use the list. Well, Linda, you're screwing the veterans again. And you know how much I care about veterans' rights. This is outrageous. I mean, we're looking at, I mean, I had a tiny, and I should know that better. I'm a pragmatist normally. I see the glass half full of liquid, not half empty or half full. I really thought that with Chris and maybe with Mike now doing the right thing and Michelle, we'd only need, you know, need those other two. But the other two just proved to me that they're freaking worthless. They're going to vote for the shit that doesn't matter, and the shit that's going to really screw us, they're going to flip. They proved it by letting the vote. That's a disgrace. This guy was a lame duck city councilor who you knew showed up strictly to screw the taxpayer. Yeah, no, it's just, it's crazy. Yeah, no, you're right. Joe Camara doesn't like the, you know, he likes the, and he doesn't care about the law either. Remember when he threw Nelson out for swearing? Well, you can't do that. There was a Massachusetts Supreme Court decision that said you can swear. I'm not saying it's a good thing to do. You shouldn't really, although I can see how people get aggravated. But he ejected him from the council. He could have filed a lawsuit against him. No, you're right. Yeah. Yeah. And believe me, I don't know about other communities. I don't know who their representatives are. I don't know if they're veterans. But I know that two of the veterans there are state reps. Carol Fiola is not a veteran. She didn't serve, I don't believe. And I'm almost 100% sure of that. But both Schmid and Sylvia are both veterans. They voted for all the illegal funding, and they did not support giving housing preference for veterans. Even though the housing crisis for veterans is all over the news nationally. But they don't care. Just like our council doesn't care. Yeah, that was a while ago. That was a while ago. No, you did. They did. They don't care because there are no consequences, guys. I'm preaching to the choir here, and I know that. I love you guys because you're always here talking and giving us the opinions and stuff and talking about this stuff. You see it. But where are the people? Where are your friends? Where are these people in the coffee shops that are going to be complaining like a son of a bitch for the next 2 years? Oh, my tax rate. Oh, my water bill. Oh, my this. Oh, my that. And then what's the big question you ask them? Did you vote? And what's the answer going to be, CJ?
Nope.
Yeah. That's
the thing is, you and I have been doing this show for going on 17 years. That's a long time.
Yeah.
And we've expressed a lot of opinions in those 17 years. And every year over the past 5 or 6 years, I have said, this is it. I'm done. This is it. I'm done. Because as much as we talk about it, the message doesn't seem to get through to people's heads. They come here, they express support, they express their outrage, they say they want change, and then nothing happens.
Yeah. Well,
You
I think
understand
that.
how frustrated that makes us?
Oh, I know. Well, it frustrates me, but I believe that most of the people that we talk to vote
Right.
because they're involved. But what disturbs me is why don't they get on their friends' asses and everything else and tell them we got to. CAG was formed, the Citizens Alliance for Accountability Government. We have to get meetings again, regular meetings, and get people involved because I don't know what you can do. I mean, the people that are on here, I don't care whether they agree or disagree. At least they're engaged. Yeah. Yeah. And Alan Sylvia will be marching in a Veterans Day parade like he didn't do shit. What? Me? Worry? I'm gonna march in a Veterans Parade.
The sad part is that one of the reasons why people find it easy to voice their opinion here is they feel comfortable. When they're out in public at a coffee shop or at the Liberal Club or at the 99 or another restaurant, they don't feel safe. They don't feel comfortable. They feel like they're going to be attacked if they say something that goes against what the other person believes or thinks. And because of that, they clam up. Well, that clamming up doesn't get us anywhere. Exactly, Ryan.
It's on them.
The one thing I told Mike Mioza, douchebag extraordinaire, Chris Bartley, was that there's a fault in the recall provision. You need to remove the opportunity of the recalled individual from being placed on the ballot. They copied word for word the flawed provision in Massachusetts general law and then proceeded to recall that provision so it's out of the law. So if we become a type B government, we have to go back and put a recall provision back in Massachusetts general law because we don't have one. And we won't have one.
Well, you can get one, but like you said, it's going to be a Herculean task. Well, what did they do? Look, they know when you get a recall election, you're going to get a bunch of people running. It's going to split the vote. So maybe an incumbent might have a chance. I mean, we did something and got a guy out that got elected by 75% of the vote. We got 70% of the people to vote against him, but we were lucky enough, plurality-wise, that he finished near the top. So, but
Cal Fiola edits her posts. So when you make a comment, she deletes it.
Yeah. Yeah, she doesn't, well, I contacted her office about a healthcare issue, and I talked to her personally. And then what did I get? I got an email from one of her minions telling me to give me your name, address, and stuff like that, which they already know. And the complaint was already filed. So I mean, but listen, I've done shit with them without their help, and I will call them out, and hopefully they'll be running. Somebody will run against them in the next election. It's unfortunate that most people are not like you guys. You know, you guys are engaged. You show up, you talk. Like I said, it doesn't matter, agree or disagree, but you're at least you're engaged. But we see these people that it has to reach like critical mass. The city has to basically blow up before they do anything. And that's what happened. In 1995, the city basically blew up and they got rid of 5 councilors because it was so obvious that what they did. I think 95 and maybe coming back. We may see a council like we did in 95. Remember when Steve Camara and the other 4 got bounced because it was like watching
the Portuguese Mafia got bounced.
Everything. They just ramrodded everything through like they did in the last meeting.
Yeah.
Except Brad Kilby won't be there. He'll be in a housing authority sucking up a big paycheck to boost his pension up.
Doing nothing.
And he's going to only have to work a few years for that pension. He's not going to have to work in a housing authority for 32 years. He's only going to have to work in here till he gets his high, and then he's gone. And he thinks there's nothing wrong with it. He told me directly, well, I got a family. Well, if you were worried about your pension, you should have got a job in a housing authority 30 years ago and worked there for 30 years and earned your freaking pension. Don't be a political kiss ass for 20 some years and then go sliding over because you made the right votes and get a job that's going to boost your pension. How do you think people feel who worked all their lives? How do you think the people in City Hall that are still making $35,000 as clerks feel about you getting double what they're going to get in their pension just in a pay bump in your pension because you sold your ass out? Maybe you can look at yourself in the mirror with that rationalization, but I couldn't. I got no use for these people anymore. I used to be able to peacefully coexist with them. They were acquaintances. They were never real friends. But the fact is now I have nothing. To me, they're reprehensible human beings. They don't care about the regular people in Fall River. They never do. Never did.
James is asking the same question we've all asked. Why is the Fall River Housing Authority in the Fall River pension system?
Because that's the place, James. I'll answer that question for you. It's because, there was an old saying, where all the politicians dump all their relatives and friends who can't get a job in the MBTA and the Lottery Commission on the state level. Well, in Fall River, somebody a long time ago figured out that according to Mass statute, you can put them in, and they did. They shouldn't have been in. I'm on a retirement board. I would have never voted for that. I would have opposed it, but that happened long before I ever got on a retirement board. BCTC, retirement, housing authority were put into our system, which makes our system have more people in it, thereby cost more. But they put them in because they knew that they would have control over who gets hired at the housing authority. And they could put all their friends who can't get a job with the city in a housing authority. Look who they put in. Brad Kilby cannot work for the city now because the charter says he can't work for the city, but he can work for the housing authority. It's a federal entity. They're in our pension system. He'll get all the health care that I got for these people. He'll get the bennies of being a Fall River retiree, which is the best health care system in his state for people. But he can work. He couldn't work in the city. The charter prohibits it. But he'll go to the housing authority because it's not a municipal job. And that's where they dump all it. Look at what's his name? Who did our picture guy that's sleeping at the switch all the time.
Tim McCoy.
How many times has he bounced back and forth? Housing authority, city. Housing Authority, city, housing. He got so tired. Look what happened. He was so tired of going back and forth. He couldn't figure out where he was, and he just zoned out. There's your tax dollars at work, people. And if you don't want to vote, it's your fault. You know, we got to change these people like diapers. Unless they're performing. It's one and done. You got to put new, and people go, oh, you know, we don't know. We're going to vote. I don't know this guy. I don't care. I don't care. Put him in. Give him a chance. If he's like one of these clowns, get him out after one term. Once you begin to show these people.
James, the reason why Paul Coogan's a member of the school committee as an ex officio member is state law. When they did education reform in cities and towns that had a mayor, they put them on the school committee.
As ex officios. Yeah.
But what happened in Fall River was they made the ex officio official because we have a 6-member school committee and they needed to make it 7 so they could have an odd man out. So they made the mayor the odd man out instead of making a 7-member school committee and making the mayor ex officio so nobody had to listen to his ass.
Well, you know, the bottom line is that everything they did with the school department has caused the catastrophe that we have in public education. They carved them out. They have their own, like North Korea over there. They just, they're not accountable to anybody. Kenny Pacheco basically said that in front of the camera. Hey, I don't ever agree. I don't ever go by that anyway. 5 million, 20 million for the year. No, I just break it up into pots. Now I don't even have to bother doing that. I can spend more of my time figuring out how to spend your money. So they're blatant. I mean, look at his contract. He gave the guy a $95,000 a year job after he retired from a company that wasn't doing their job. Even Rhode Island is suing contractors for non-performance. What do we get in Fall River? They don't perform. We get our taxes increased, and nothing ever gets fixed. We still got mold. I showed you the contract numerous times on this show. We got the contracts. Ed reform created all this. They made the school department autonomous, and it was like giving the hen house to the wolves. That's exactly what they did. Nobody can control them. They got their own North Korea over there. Then they come over to the city and they pretend to scold them. Oh, what are you doing over there? Look, they got a guy over there that still doesn't understand that the healthcare system isn't just the school. What's that?
I'm laughing about the guy who doesn't understand the healthcare system.
Oh, yeah. He's been over there for like, I don't know how many years, and he still doesn't understand the healthcare system.
And how many times have you met with him to explain it?
Well, I did meet with him a few years ago when I go back, I went so far with that guy. Paul Coogan was on the school committee when he called me to explain it. And I said, okay. And he said, will you explain it to the CFO over here or whatever his title is? I said, yeah. And I explained it to him. And I think he went to a meeting. And it was like going in one ear out the other. He still can't figure that out because it's in his budget. He's only worried about the number. That number is just a fictitious number. You got to put money. You want to put it in your budget. It should not be. I have always taken a position that healthcare should be a separate item in the budget because it's a group. In effect, it's its own entity. So that should be separate because they can't run out of money. Oh, we're running over budget. How about all the years you ran under budget? Did you have extra money at the end of the year? Oh, yeah, you didn't complain about that, even though it's not real money. You had it in your budget. What'd you do with that money? Oh, maybe we need a forensic audit, Colin. What happened to all the years you ran under budget? because you really didn't have that money. That money was never in the school department. That money was in group insurance. Group. Get the word? Group. Not school. Group insurance. You're $2 million short because you took all the group insurance money and blew it, just like the school department did with their money that's in their budget that really doesn't exist. It's in the group.
Well, you ready for this one? I got a way to make it drive it home to this moron. Okay? Separate the school department into their own health insurance program and let them understand what it costs.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to.
Because they're going to have to go into a premium plan because they'll never be able to be a self-payer.
Well, they can't afford it. They could never pay the incurred but not reported runoff.
That's what I'm saying.
They could never get into a premium plan. But the reality is that, well, I'm not going to penalize the everyday workers in the school department because these idiots don't listen. You guys, okay. Let me explain this to you and see if somebody with any degree of intelligence understands this. Insurance is created by the larger the group, the more stable a premium, because the healthy people balance the premium for the people who get sick. And it's not as good for the healthy people, but those healthy people someday will get older. So they try to create larger groups. So we put everybody together. Okay, we're in a group. So this is what I told this guy that, I don't know how many years ago. He'll probably deny it, but I got witnesses. I said, listen, let's use Hawaii. I said, years ago, and I know it's closed now and they've cured leprosy, but they used to have a leper colony on Molokai. I said, so let's look at the Hawaiian healthcare system. They got a state system. And Molokai in the leper colony is in there. Now, their medical bills are always going to be higher because they're lepers and their noses fall off and their ears fall off and, things fall off and they spend a lot of money. So if you just carved them out and said, you have to pay for your health care based on your experience, they would be paying $1 million a year apiece for health care. But because of the healthy people in Hawaii, they had a stable premium because they're together. They're part of that. So everybody else is running $5 million under budget, and you're running $2 million over budget, but you're still $3 million under budget. Is that hard to understand? I don't know. But they still don't understand it like 8 years later. It's not freaking rocket science. It's not rocket science. I mean, it's just unbelievable. Yeah, I knew Manny. Actually, I went to his funeral. Well, look. He's a look. That any respect I ever had for him disappeared when he voted against veterans. I'm sorry. How can anybody who wore the uniform of this country vote against his own? We still have 22 veterans a day committing suicide. We have veterans living in the streets. We have veterans that are freezing and hungry. And for somebody who wore a uniform to not see that, I got absolutely zero use for these people anymore. I got absolutely zero use. I'm sorry. I just can't abide by them. Like I said, they were acquaintances, but now I have nothing but disdain for them. They are reprehensible human beings. Yeah, yeah, well, yeah, don't hold your breath about the state audit, James. You think the politicians are ever going to let you take a microscope to what they do again? Oh yeah, that you should have put a few more O's after that no, because that's like forever. You go on forever. Yep, 72%, but that's not a lot, is it? Oh no, only like three out of every four people voted for the audit.
Well, the
But they'll
worst part
still
about it
elect
is
these assholes.
the worst part about it is the House and the Senate and the governor's office are saying that their records are not subject to the Public Records Act. Therefore, the state auditor can't review them because they're not public records. So the state auditor said, fine, right there. I'm going to put another ballot question on the ballot. I'm going to make your records public now. So we'll see what happens. They'll probably say they need a constitutional amendment to make that happen.
Yeah, well, that's what happens. You know, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolute. They think they're untouchable, and they are, because people vote them in. Why? It's inexplicable to me, but I don't. People, we got to get people together. I mean, I think we're in a. I mean, I'm horrified at looking at the next 2 years with this mayor. Yeah, well, I'll tell you, there are a lot of people in the same position I've seen, but I mean, this one, to me, it's outrageous. It's just outrageous. I mean, with the problems veterans have, I see commercials, you know, to donate for homeless veterans and for things like this, and you know, they want the general public to support the veterans when the government of the nation that they defended
Won't do it.
won't do it. That
Right.
is despicable. That is despicable. I have never thought in my wildest dreams that I would ever see this nation abandon its veterans the way it has. It's outrageous. Absolutely outrageous. And
I hear you. I hear you.
and in these blue states, what really pisses me off is when you got these freeloaders. Look what happened in Minnesota. $9 billion in fraud. I saw two Republican mayors from towns in Minnesota telling me, saying to the reporter, they have to raise their property taxes and they're killing their people with local taxes because there's no money coming down from the state because the Somalians they took all the money and sent it back to Somalia. Now it's up to $9 billion. And Tampon Timmy is trying to hide everything. Oh, I'll take care of this. No, you ignored it for like 6 years. While we have people that need help and taxpayers in Minnesota in the red time, this is what Democrats do. They just can't stop stealing your money. Look at the fraud. Condoms in Jakarta, trans plays in East Overshoe somewhere, billions of dollars. And when they started dodging, the Democrats went nuts. We found out they were sending trillions of dollars all over the world. And now they're stealing billions of dollars from people in the United States, from the taxpayers, and they're sending it back to foreign countries. And then they're complaining about the feds investigating them. That's typical Democrat shit. Oh, we'll take care of it. No, you got us in this mess. So you want me to let the wolf again go back and audit the chickens? I don't think so.
Yeah. Well, everyone, get your snow shovels out. Get your ice melt out. 3 to 5 inches of snow. There is still no parking ban issued in Fall River. Somerset, Swansea, and Tiverton have parking bans that go into effect in 8 minutes. So be aware of that. And remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. We'll see you on Monday. Have a great weekend. Enjoy.